glorious grace. I was down, she pulled me in. Grace, wonderful grace, hallelujah. Grace, wonderful grace. I was down and she covered. I was covered by her grace. Oh, covered by her grace, wonderful grace. Grace, beautiful grace. I was down, God said I'm not finished. Grace, powerful grace. Oh, grace, wonderful grace. When you're down, don't do no, you're covered by your grace. Oh, covered. I was
Let's thank her again. Let's thank the band. And I really want to thank sound this morning because the mix is perfect out in the audience. It's just perfect out in the audience. Good morning, everyone. So good to see all of you this morning. Well, I'm inspired this morning by Ernest Holmes' Lessons in Spiritual Mind Healing from the Woman's New Thought Library. And the spiritual principle this morning is your faith has made you well. Your faith has made you well. My title this morning is Back to My Roots. And those of you who have been around on this side of the veil as long as I have might remember that this is a song by RuPaul. And I was really debating having RuPaul do my entrance. But this is what propelled RuPaul to success. Now, there's a story behind the song, Back to My Roots, because the whole story is about the beauty shop that RuPaul's mother owned. Now, there's a salon, and then there is the beauty shop. Okay, there's a different thing when you talk about the beauty shop and the barber shop. Because in African American culture, there's a whole thing going on in this experience. It's like another version of church. Because this is the place where you get the tea. You get to dish the tea, the truth of the whole experience. That's really what goes on. So it's a place, it takes you back to your roots. It takes you back to your roots. Have we forgotten where we come from? Have we forgotten where we come from, where our source lies, where our roots are? The recovery community gave us the term HALT. It said that if you're not careful, when you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, you can go back to unhealthy behavior. We go back to our roots and our experiences when we are stressed out. Now, I really can't forget my roots. I really can't. Sometimes it is my only strength in life is for me to remember my roots. Now, all of you know that I come from Detroit, and when I have my time alone, let me give you a peek into my home of what happens. Because when I am alone, I play music from home, from Detroit. Because, by the way, there is nothing better. And you can always tell here when I connect to that experience because you cannot sit me down or shut me up, okay? I'm totally okay with that. Now, have all of you seen an air guitar? Okay, well, when the music is playing in my house, I have an air organ, piano, I direct the choir, I sing, I dance, I clap. I have a good old time all by myself, and if my neighbors were to see me, they would think I was crazy. But when I come through, I'm ready for you in the morning. That's how I come through, because it makes me go back to my roots. No matter what I go through, no matter what I experience, no matter how much sophistication I think I have adopted, no matter how much, my parents would say, don't forget where you come from. And I don't forget where I come from, because when I need my strength, that is where I go. Where do you go when you need strength? Where do you go when you need strength? These are my cultural roots, but there is a spiritual root. And the spiritual root is the source of our life. Now, yesterday's song that just pushed me over the edge and I had a good old time with was Hold On. Hold on. Don't let go. Hold on. And how do you hold on? By leaning on the Lord. I had a good old time. Because you know, the one thing about Apple Play is you can hit repeat. And if nobody is home with me, I can hear it over and over and over again. And if somebody else were to see me, they'd go, can't you let it go and hear something else? Well, no. Because there's something about that gives me my connection to the spirit that I love and that is a part of my life. leaning on the Lord. So we are rooted in the infinite. That's where we are rooted. That is where our source is. That is where our life force comes from. It's from the infinite. So healing is about returning to the source. There are moments in my life, and maybe you've had them as well, where life just seems tight, oppressive, constricted. It just feels like I am out of alignment. It just ain't right. Have you ever had a time when it just ain't right? It just ain't right. There's something, I feel out of line, not connected. My source, I don't feel it. I can act like I feel it, but I don't feel it. Now, the source is always there. It's just whether or not we are aware. And my first instinct in these experiences is to go outside of myself, to look at my circumstances and to look at my conditions. What about you? Can you list your conditions and your circumstances? And then I have to reflect on the story that I am telling myself. Who is against me? What is against me? And unfortunately, I let the devil go a long time ago, except for the devil I see in some of your faces. I mean, that's the only devil I know. And Lord knows some of the people I work with. They truly keep me on my knees. But when we get to this point where we look at these insurmountable experiences that we have, we feel smaller and smaller and less powerful than we really are. And it is if life has something is happening to me, rather happening through me. Because that's life, when life is happening through us, not to us, through us. But in these moments, when life is operating through us, I call these luminous moments, these light-filled moments, where I remember my source and I am connected to my roots. And when I remember that the same life that animates the entire universe created everything and breathes its life in and through me. See, then I recognize and I know that's my source, that is my anchor, that is where my hope comes from. And when I get there, baby, there ain't nothing I don't feel I can do. It feels like I can fly, I can walk over mountains. There is nothing insurmountable I can overcome because I tap into that source and that resource that is down in my soul. It's the place where the seeds are planted that get to yield in my life. And I remember that I am not separate from the infinite. There is only one expression of the divine, and it is us. So when you feel insecure and you're not sure, when life becomes oppressive and puts you in a corner and you feel like there's no way out, just remember the infinite is the resource that flows in and through and is living its life out through you, through each one of us. And it is in these moments that healing is something that I feel that I can possess in a luminous moment of being aware of where I come from and where my roots lie and where my source is. It seems like at those periods that I am allowing something wonderful to happen in my life right at that time. And we know what it's like to be, feel that we're being shaped by our circumstances. Have you ever felt shaped by your circumstances where the weight of patterns that seem bigger than all of us, old beliefs, inherited fears? Did your parents have fears of certain things? Did they recite them to you? I had that experience, and my parents were always a part of church, but there was always this element of fear and stories that we didn't choose, but we absorbed. The stories. We didn't write the story, we didn't tell the story, but we absorbed the feeling of the story. And where your feelings are is where your power is. And if your feelings are negative and oppressive, that is what you will manifest in your life because that is where you have placed the power. We all have moments in our life where there is sickness, where there is limitation, where there is emotional heaviness, and the external forces feel as if it is taking over. But many of us have been taught, whether directly or indirectly, that healing is about fixing something outside of us. Now, many of you may be sitting here this morning and go, there is nothing wrong with me, but I have come for you this morning. I have come for you this morning. Ernest Holmes identifies something that speaks directly to this shared human struggle. He says, we often use the power that could free us to create our own bondage. Did someone else create the bondage, or have we created the bondage? In the words of my mother, have you let somebody use your mind? We believe more in the problem than in the source. And I call this the gospel of but. My term, it's trademarked. The gospel of but. But what about? When you hear the truth and you immediately think, but what about? The gospel, it is not a spiritual principle to worry. It is not a spiritual practice. When we worry, and we will worry, we must tap into the source, the overcoming power that has been given to us, or we just cycle down. Now, we can cycle down to a point where we absolutely cannot believe that it is possible to overcome, and then we have to reach. But I'm trying to reach and connect to my source before I go absolutely all the way down to the bottom. We believe more often in the defeat than we do in the victory. And it is not because we're bad, and it is not because we are weak. It is because we are unaware. We are not aware of the divine power and presence that breathe its very existence through each one of us. We need to get over this spiritual principle of but. It is like someone holding a seed and not realizing that the soil is waiting for the seed to be planted. It is the law of growth that is always there, but what seeds are we planting? Are we planting seeds of victory and of life and of love and of health and of wholeness? Or are we planting seeds that I'm going back, I'm going under, the world is against me, oppression is coming? All of those things are facts, but they are not truth. They're facts, but not truth. And we will need overcoming power to overcome what is going on outside of us. The entire creative process is waiting for us to plant the seed that we want to manifest in our life. It's waiting on us. It's waiting on us. Holmes writes, we are already using the law. The question is, are we using it consciously? See, the things that we believe and the things that we fear and that we empower, we are using the divine law all the time, but are we using it consciously? But there is a teaching about this luminous experience of walking and experiencing, tapping into your roots and your source, where your life force comes from. And brings the idea of that we are full of light. And Holmes lays out this idea about reminding us how to connect back to our source. Because you don't think you need healing, but I think you need healing from but. There is one infinite creative spirit. Call it what you will. God understands and knows when you're referring to it. It's totally perfect. Call it what you will, wherever you get your connection. It's fine, you don't have to use mine. But make your connection. This presence is everywhere. There is no place that God is not. And it is whole and perfect and complete all in itself at every point of existence. So there is no place that you can be out of the fringe and the love and the power of God. We may be unaware, but we are never out of the presence of God. The reality expresses itself in thought. The divine expresses itself in and through us through thought, not the stuff, the thought, our ideas, our thoughts, the things that dwell in our head, that if someone could plug up a video player to your mind, what would we see? I'm certainly not playing mine for you. No way, baby. There's no way. I'm hiding that all myself, because when I get up here, I'm victorious. But you should have been with me yesterday at noon when I was trying to figure out, Lord, what am I going to talk about tomorrow? And I've already described the message on Monday. Okay? So what happens when I'm done at 11 o'clock with the 11 o'clock service, first of all, I am exhausted. The first thought I have is, Lord, what are you going to talk about next week? Because by Monday morning at 12 noon, I give Rosie the description. And sometime by Sunday, I use it. And then sometimes, most of the time, I don't. Because after I have made my connection with Source, the whole story may change from what I thought it was. The reality of it all is that this divine presence is the root of every form. It is a part of everything that we are. The Spirit is not out there. It's in a scary place. It is your very essence. The Brahmin said when they looked for the presence of God and where to place it, they placed it in us because it would be the last place that we would look. We are individualized spirit. So you think you can get out of this thing? No, you can't. You're always stuck in, because it is our very existence. And Holmes says that our subjective mind is our personal use of universal mind. Now, we often talk about the law, right? That the law. But see, the law that we are using is a part of universal mind, but it is our subjective mind. It is the place that we believe and we think. This is where it's all happening, which is why if you are not aware, you will repeat the same behavior and the same experiences in your life because you are living unaware that you have this belief. Holmes says that this universal mind is this personal use that we have of it, of using the universal mind. What we call consciousness is the connection between the divine universal consciousness and my ability to choose how to use it. So no matter what it is, it says yes. I am sick. Yes. I am healed. Yes. Whatever we truly believe, wherever the feeling is, it is the silent builder of our entire experience. But if you have a thought that doesn't work for you, what can you do? Replace it with one that does. Change your thinking and change your life. It's not out there, it's in there. It is the bridge between the absolute and the relative. There are times that I am relative, but I have this connection to the absolute. And healing is not fixing the body, it is correcting the belief. I am not praying for your symptoms. I am praying for the belief behind your symptoms. Go to your doctor for your symptoms. I have finally figured that all out, what actually is going on. That's symptoms. I'm talking about truth. You need both, prayer and a pill. Nothing wrong with that. But if your doctor can preach to you better than me, then it's time for me to do something else. Okay? Healing is not fixing the body. It's about correcting the belief, particularly the belief that healing and health is our individual possession. It is our divine right. Holmes makes it clear that sickness, poverty, and fear, These are not entities. They have no life in themselves. We provide the power through fear. And people challenge me all the time on the issue, particularly of poverty. Well, you can tell the people that are in poverty, change your thinking, change your life. And no, I'm going to feed them first. Okay? First, I'm going to feed them. But until each one of us decide to change our thinking and change our life is not going to change. I don't care how much you do for people. Every one of us has to make a decision to change our thinking, to change our life. The effects of thought patterns of all of the things of lack are because we have forgotten our source, how our connection, where my help, where my power comes from. I'm looking for it totally in my own ability when I feel weak and insecure. But I recognize once I get to that luminous part where I'm walking in the light, then I really reconnect with that one power and presence, and I feel I can do anything then. I can leap over small buildings in a single bound. Healing happens when we turn to an awareness of our source, that the Spirit is the root of our very being. It is where our life force comes from. And I am a God-intended person. You are a God-intended person. You are not a mistake. You are not something that just happened. You are a divine idea in the mind of God. Isn't that what Ernest said? You're a divine idea in the mind of God. The law responds to what we believe, not what we wish, what we believe. And sometimes we have to look at our life and say, what do I believe? Because this is what I'm manifesting. But if you have a thought that doesn't work for you, replace it with one that does. And Holmes says, it's simply the thought that we hold long enough in subjective mind to accept. You just have to hold the positive idea, what you want to demonstrate in your life, longer and stronger and longer than it is in the doubt. It is not magical thinking. It is not superstition. It is metaphysical alignment. It is at one-ment. I am just agreeing with the divine. My power is to just agree with the divine. It's not arrogance. It is our inheritance. It is remembering that the infinite can only function and operate through each one of us. It doesn't happen someplace else. So what does this mean for you today? What does this mean? What are you going to do in this belief in but? What are you going to do with it? First, you are never separate from the divine. If you say but, you say but. But the Spirit doesn't say but. The Spirit only says and. Never but. The healing is not out there. The healing is within each one of us. It is a natural expression of the divine that dwells within us all. You can begin healing by simply changing your thought pattern, not by denying the condition. You speak directly to the condition. It is by refusing to give the condition creative authority. Don't delegate your authority to your condition. Take authority over the condition. You can then practice the simple actions of first recognizing. It always goes back to that. What is the divine in your life? Where is your power? Wherever you need in life, you need the divine to be. If you are sick, then you need the divine to be health. If you are poor, you need the divine to be prosperity. Whatever you need the divine to be in your mind. Because there is only one power and it is good and it will be there for you. It is the very root of our being. It is not just positive thinking, and there is nothing wrong with positive thinking. It is about aligning ourselves with the one power and presence that is the very source of our existence. And then there's being receptive. We have to let certain things go before we can accept something new. You can always tell what you need to let go. All you have to do is listen to your story. And you realize when every defeated moment and every time somebody says this and you say, but, you need to reflect, is that what you really believe? You can have a new idea, though, by simply changing your mind. Let the infinite do the work. Holmes says that the subjective mind is deductive only. So we use the law through a deductive process. It responds to us based on the pattern that we have placed upon it. It is our thinking that creates the problem. So make sure your thinking has the pattern worthy of your soul, of your daily experience. And don't plant the seed and dig it up. I've shared with you, as a kid, we had an altar rail, and the experience that we had is we immediately would come in the church and immediately go to the altar and pray. But they would say, whatever you do, don't go and pray and then take up the problem and take it back to your seat with you. You don't plant the seed of goodness and then go back and dig it up. You don't need to check whether or not it's going to root or anything else. The life is in the seed. The seed knows what it is. Your thought, your idea knows what it is, and if we plant it in consciousness, it will manifest. Holmes reminds us by quoting Jesus. He says, your faith has made you well. Every time that Jesus healed, he says, your faith has made you well. And then in one exceptional story, a man comes and he says, my servant is sick unto death. And Jesus says, I'll come and pray for him. He said, you don't need to come. All you have to do is speak the word. You don't even need to come under my roof. You just need to speak the word. And that servant was healed at that very hour. See, we stand in proxy. This is what spiritual practitioners do. When you are weak or sick or ill, we stand there holding your perfection and your excellence for you until you recognize it again. That's what we do. We hold your perfection. That is the only thing. And let me tell you, you want to know sometimes why we pray so long? Because we got to pray long enough and talk to ourselves long enough to get over all the doubt that we have to deal with. You look at someone tells you and gives you some devastating story, and the first thing you is, baby, I don't know how you're going to get out of that. But that's not what a spiritual practitioner says. We start talking about the divine until we get ourselves over to the side of walking from source and the power that breathes each one of us. See, it is not our job to force the healing, but it is our job to allow it. Are you allowing the divine perfection that dwells within you to be your very source of resistance? Stop fighting conditions and start worrying about new causes. What thoughts are you placing in consciousness? Your thought is not small. Your consciousness is not powerless. You are an individualized center of God consciousness. What more do we want? We are an individual center of God consciousness. And the moment that we remember, healing starts. So as a community, because we are never out of community, can you have this whole experience by yourself? You can have some experience, but you won't have the power and the presence of being here together. There is something about us getting together that reinvigorates us and re-empowers us. And when we have thinking that is fearful, I feel like I'm going to go under, somehow or another praise and worship sings a song or the special artist says something that totally changes it, gives us hope. It lets us not be defined by old patterns, but decide the new patterns that we want to live by. We are a people, not perfect, but we are learning to think from source and not from fear. We are a community practicing spiritual mind healing, not as superstition, but as alignment. We are co-creators in a world where wholeness is normal, that love is the default, and where spirit is recognized as the truth in every person. And as we do this together, we don't just heal ourselves, we are a healing community. It is the only community I want, is to be a healing community, where people know if they can just get here, there is a group of people that will believe with them for their victory. That's being a healing presence, not judging. I don't need to judge you. Don't judge me. We need to be a healing presence together. We become this field of consciousness where others remember their source. You don't tap into my source, you tap into your source. It's the same source. But we must return to our roots. The source is the infinite. This is the work. This is the invitation. And this is the healing. And I leave you with this. Love is the only power in my life. There is nothing from without me that can interrupt the perfect life within me. I am a perfect child of the divine, and nothing that anyone has ever done or said can interfere with my divine inheritance. The power of love is greater than any circumstance in my life. The strength of the divine love is mine to use. So I turn away from all feelings of inadequacy that I have discovered that all I need is within me right now. And as I forgive the past, I find that I have nothing to atone for and I have nothing to run away from, because I'm casting off the old thinking and I'm discovering my true self, and I take dominion in my life. Are you going to take dominion in your life? Old habits have no power over me. Conditions have no power over me. Personalities have no power over me. I take dominion. I am whole. I am free. And I walk in victory. And so it is.